Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Do's and Don'ts podcast. I'm your host, Mohammed Al Khamis, and today we have a very special guest who is a passionate Purdue basketball fan and also a Purdue alum. Faisal, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hello, it's an honor for me to be here and to talk about Purdue basketball with you tonight.
Okay, so we have a couple of topics I want to get your opinion on. First, I want to ask you about the recent changes we've seen in the Purdue basketball roster.
Yeah, it's an exciting it's been an exciting couple of days for Purdue basketball. Obviously, a lot of players left, and we're gonna miss some of them. But it's also really exciting to see the new pickups and then the newcomers that are joining the program.
Yeah, I think yeah, it's been very hectic past couple say weeks or even months
Yeah.
now, with especially with for Matt Painter, I guess. But I mean, what would you say is the biggest loss we've had so far?
I've been one of the biggest Camden Heidi fans ever since he was a redshirt freshman. I was really excited for him to step on the court. I think his enthusiasm and passion for the game is exactly what Purdue needs. So I'm gutted to see him leave. Um, as for the rest of them, we're obviously going to miss Miles Colvins's athleticism. Obviously, it's sad to see people who are related to the program leave, such as Miles Colvin. As we all know, his father was a football player for Purdue. So that's always sad to see. But I also wish them the best of luck in their new at their new schools as well.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a big change for us, especially for Camden Heidi and Colvin, since they've been a big part of our starting lineup. So now let's talk about how that affects our starting lineup. We we know that we've seen the recent pickups. We've gotten the players from the transfer portal and recruitments. But how do you think that fits in with our? How will that affect and change our starting lineup for next season?
I mean, obviously, like we've got four players leaving the program. Two of them didn't play a lot of minutes, and Brian Waddell and Wilberg. Uh, like I mentioned before, we're gonna miss the athleticism from Camden Heidi and Miles Colvin at the four spots, at the three and the four, respectively. Um, but I'm also excited for the newcomers, and it's going to be exciting to see whether the starting lineup changes that much or not. You've got the big three who are obviously going to be starters in Braden, Fletch, and TKR. It's going to be really interesting to see who starts next to Braden because we saw the latest ESPN rankings. They have Purdue jumping to number one, overtaking Houston as the number one team in the country for next season. And they have the projected lineup as being Braden, CJ, Fletch, TKR, and then Oscar Clough in the center. I'm not sure if that is going to be the case. Maybe Matt Painter is going to start with CJ next to Braden. And then as the season goes on, we might see Omar Meyer take the spot. We also might see Daniel Jacobson as the starting center if he does really well. Obviously, it's going to be hard for him to come back from such an injury, but it's going to be really interesting to see how they battle out for the front court and the backcourt spots.
Yeah, I think we usually see this in but not just in basketball, but in every sport where once you have like new players in, you start noticing as the season goes, you see changes. You see big changes to the starting lineup, just to see what fits, what works, what doesn't, stuff like that. But I mean, who would you rather see as the starting lineup? Do you agree with the ESPN starting lineup?
Yeah, I think it's the best lineup to start the season with. As the season goes on, I can really see Omar Meyer taking the spot next to Braden. Obviously, in the off season, they're going to see well, like who works best with who. Um, because obviously the primary ball handler is going to be Braden, but he's going to need to get some rest. And when he gets some rest, Omar Meyer is going to be the primary ball handler. So who do you put next to him when Braden's in the bench? Is it going to be Jakari Harris? Is it going to be CJ? it's all going to be interesting to see. But the starting five that ESPN has, I think, is the one that we're going to start the season with.
Because I think what we've seen last season of Braden Smith playing 40 minutes a game and just playing, not resting for any minute, I think that really affected him when it came to the end of the season. So I think a main target for us would be to try and not limit his minutes, but I mean decrease amount of minutes just so they can get the good amount of rest and still be
Yeah, give him some
at full
rest.
potential. Yeah, get the full potential at still at the end of the season during March Madness. But
Yeah,
I
we've seen
mean,
it before as well. When with the addition of Lance Jones in
yeah,
2023, we saw how much that he helped Braden break the press, give him some rest, and also have like a person that can create his own shots in the team, which can really help us not only in the Big Ten but also in March Madness.
yeah, and I mean one of the biggest things that happened in the past couple of weeks was Braden Smith officially acknowledging that he's going to come back for senior year and hopefully get us a national championship. I mean, I just want to get your opinion on how important Braden Smith is to us with this news.
This team is gonna go as far as Braden Smith wants the team to go. Uh, he's uh, he's going to be assisting. He's going to be scoring. He's everything runs through him. Matt Painter trusts him. I mean, we've seen it since he's been a freshman. It's not often that we see a freshman backcourt in college basketball, but that's how much Matt Painter trusts Braden Smith and Fletcher Lawyer. So yeah, Braden Smith is going to be the favorite to be the National Player of the Year. He's a returning consensus All American. It's
Yeah,
really exciting for us, and hopefully, it's exciting for him to be playing with such a talented team.
I mean, yeah, we really hope that this is next year is going to be our year. And yeah, as you said, with the amount of trust that Matt Painter has in Braden Smith is honestly, I think, played a big deal. Especially that we know the fact that he didn't have any. He was a three-star recruit. Didn't have. I don't think he had any D1 offers as well. So I think that you can see the relationship between him and Matt Painter, which played, I think, a very big role in us and him deciding to come back for his senior year instead of transferring out to any other team. But I mean, so do you think that we can say that next year will hopefully be our year for the national championship?
I mean, hopefully, it's. I feel like college basketball fans always say this year is going to be our year, and we've said it a million times before, especially with Zach Edey's senior year. We were this close to achieving it, so hopefully this year we can get past the hump and win the national championship with the four new additions. Obviously, I don't think Antoine West is going to get a lot of minutes, but he's an exciting prospect. Omar Meyer is going to help us, especially since he's been playing in the Israeli Pro League or the Euro League. So he's going to be giving us a lot of help, especially in March. And we know what we're going to get with the seniors, the transfers, especially in Daniel and Oscar Clough, who's going to help Daniel Jacobson with his progression, and he's going to also help us a lot in the interior. We know that we struggled against Houston this year, and a lot of teams when it came to interior defense and rebounding. He's the leading rebounder in the transfer portal in Oscar Clough. So that's going to help us in March. And as we saw in the latest ESPN rankings, they have us as the number one team in the country. But obviously, with March Madness, anything can happen. We've seen it firsthand when I attended the game against FDU, which was a
The
real bummer.
heartbreak. Yeah.
Yeah. So anything can happen in March. We should be the favorites for the Big Ten. We should be the favorites for the national championship. But there are also a lot of really good teams. Houston is really close to us. They're the number two team. Duke with the Boozer twins are going to be really good next year. and we saw how John Shire likes his team and the way they play. We got Louisville, who have a really good will have really good players coming in, and yeah, there are going to be a lot of great and tough teams that we're going to have to beat in order to reach to finally win the national championship. I don't see why we can't win it. The only thing we lack is maybe a bit of athleticism that we lost with Miles Colvin and Camden Heidi, which we haven't really replaced. But other than that, the additions really help us, and you feel like it's written in the stars in a way. It's Braden Smith's, Fletcher Lawyer's, and T Car's senior year. The Final Four is in Indianapolis. Hopefully, we'll get the number one seed as well this year to help us out. If all of that happens and the Final Four is Indianapolis, why not? Let's go all the way and win it.
I mean, we really hope so for the first time ever, but there's something that I want to ask you about, which was we usually see a trend of we see a drop in the form of the team. Mainly, I would say maybe midway through the season, we usually see that drop. It's very consistent. We start off strong, we end somewhat strong, but I mean, there's a bit of a gap in between where we always have a big drop off. So, first of all, do you agree with it, or do you think that doesn't happen? And also, if you do, what do you think we can do to fix it, basically?
Yeah, we've seen it for the past 4 years. We were in Jaden Ivey's last year. We were a number one seed, and then we hit a bad run of games. And we saw it last year as well, and the year before. I think it's just part of the hectic Big Ten schedule. We all know how Big Ten referees like the games going. We all know how tough it is to go on the road in any Big Ten school, and with that comes the drop in form. Uh, Especially when you have players that are, I wouldn't say inexperienced, but they haven't seen, like, you can't experience going away playing in Breslin Center against Michigan State or playing in Assembly Hall against IU. I think that takes a toll on the players mentally and physically. And we kind of always see the dip after the non-conference schedule. So the dip might come in like February time, and that's usually when the Big Ten schedule is at its peak. And so yeah, I agree with you. There's always a drop in form in that time of the year. Hopefully this year with the experience we have, we can get through the schedule and and not have the drop in form. But even if we do, like we saw it in the year where we won the Big Ten title and the Big Ten tournament in Braden Smith's freshman year, there was a drop in form, but we won both tournaments. So if we can just get past the non-conference schedule, which we seem to always be excellent at, like we won Maui 2 years ago, we won the Cheez Cup, I think, with
Yeah.
Jaden Ivey's senior year. We always do well in the non-conference schedule, have a dip in the Big Ten schedule, and then end up hopefully winning the Big Ten conference. It's just whether or not the bad run of form continues onto March, or does it stop in February? We've seen it stop and we've seen it continue on to March. But this year, with the experience we have, with the players we have, with the depth we have, I hopefully I don't see it happening.
Yeah. I mean, I think the good thing about March is that it gives a lot of energy, a lot of excitement for players to do well in. So I think even if your team reaches that point and there is a drop in form, I think going into March that gives them a new purpose and just mentally resets their game and everything. And that's why we see some teams that maybe had a drop going into the tournament make it somewhat far. I think that helps in terms of it being such a big tournament. But I mean, for the non-conference schedule, I just want to get to that point is, yeah, I do agree with you 100% of how strong we are in the non-conference and everything. But also, I think a big aspect is we see how last year we saw how Oregon, how all the Big Ten teams, their non-conference schedule, they're very strong. And Oregon, especially, their non-conference schedule really helped them going into March, even though it's such a long time ago. But I mean, that still helped them getting a higher seeding in March. So I think we see this thing in all Big Ten teams of doing very well in the in the non-conference schedule, but since the Big Ten is just a very strong, very physical conference, that we see this drop in all teams. It just depends on when. Some people have a slow start, some people have a slow beginning or a or I mean a bad ending. So it depends. But I think yeah, the non-conference schedule. I think for all Big Ten teams was excellent. I mean, if you agree with me on that.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I think some of the schools get past it better than others, obviously, depending on the talent that they have. But also, I think they all get to the point where the Big Ten schedule and the away games just take a toll on the players. And you can see there's always a drop in form. The team that wins the Big Ten usually is the team that gets least impacted by the Big Ten schedule. Obviously, with the expansion of the Big Ten right now, the schedule is completely different from team to team. Whether they have to go to the West Coast or not, when they go to the West Coast, what teams do they play in the West Coast, and what teams do they play in their own arenas? Um, that's also going to play a role in how well teams do. We've seen this season where Michigan State really did well in the Big Ten. They deserved to win the Big Ten title, and they didn't really get the drop in form. They kind of just powered through the schedule, but that the reason for that is their depth, I think. We saw Tom Izzo play with like 10 players in the rotation. There isn't a clear five that ends the game for Michigan State. And that's what I hope Purdue is going to have next season. With the depth that we have, with the new additions, hopefully we can evade any slump or fatigue that gets to the players by having such a deep roster. We mentioned in the beginning of the podcast how Omar Meyer can take some of the minutes off Braden Smith. I think that's going to contribute into him and into us not hitting a wall in the middle of the Big Ten season. But obviously, we all know how sometimes the schedule gets busy. There's going to be a lot of travel. We're going to lose a couple of games. Like people shouldn't expect us to just keep winning every game. We're going to lose a couple of games here and there. But at the end of the day, I think the main target is March Madness, and then the secondary target's the Big Ten title, and then the third target's going to be the Big Ten tournament title. Hopefully, we get all three. But I think when players reach to their senior year, they basically achieved everything they want in a Purdue shirt in a Purdue uniform. The only thing that's left is getting the national championship, and hopefully we'll do that this year.
Okay, just to just as the last question and round everything off. Who would you say is a top? Let's say the top three teams in the Big Ten first that are that pose the most threat to us in achieving the Big Ten title, and the top three teams, in your opinion, that or let's say if we're a number one seed, the other three number one seeds that pose the most threat to us in March.
When it comes to the Big Ten, obviously Michigan, especially if Yaxel goes to Michigan and doesn't go to the NBA, that's going to be a big addition, a big
Yeah.
addition to them. They got a couple of transfers, some from Big Ten schools, some from outside. They got Cadeau from UNC as their point guard, who's going to replace Donaldson. Yaxel's probably going to take on the playmaking role of Danny Wolf from last year. So if that happens, then Michigan's going to be a threat to us not only in the Big Ten but also in March Madness. ESPN currently has them ranked as ninth in the country. So if he stays, hopefully he goes to the draft. But if he stays, then they're going to be a threat. And obviously you got Illinois. We saw how Brad Underwood keeps adding those European players, and those European players are all pros. One of the new additions is a 23-year-old player that plays in the EuroLeague, and he was in the top 10 of the MVP list.
Oh,
So with those additions, Illinois is going to be right up there. I think the Big Ten is going to be between Purdue, Michigan, and Illinois. As for the national
Vermont.
championship, uh, obviously Houston, especially if Uzan comes back. We're still not sure if he's going to go to the league or come back to Houston. He has one more year left. But even if he doesn't come back, the transfers they got Sharp back. They got a lot of they're going to get a lot of good players. Um, I mentioned Louisville. I think Louisville is going to be really good next year. And for me, the third team has to be UConn. We all know how good Hurley is. We've seen him win multiple titles, and he's going to get a lot of his players back. He's going to get great players from the portal as well. So yeah, I think those three, Louisville, Houston, and UConn, are going to be a threat to us. And also, we can't forget about Duke as well.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, it is too early to tell just because you don't know how things play out, how team chemistry is, also who's going to
Yeah,
perform,
this
who's
could all
not.
change like in 2 weeks or so. Until the portal closes. This can all change.
Yeah, I mean, we always see it with the people of the teams who are ranked in the top five uh, and who start off in the top five and then end of not being sometimes not even being in the top 25 maybe people. So we always see that. It's too early to tell, but I mean, hopefully we can get through it and win all three titles.
Yeah, hopefully.
So I want to thank you again, Faisal, for your time and talking to us about your opinion. I
It's
really
my
appreciate it,
pleasure.
honestly. Thank you everyone for listening. Um, uh, we'll be back hopefully next time with a new episode on the podcast on the Purdue's and Don'ts podcast. And as always, boiler up and hammer down. Thank you.